You know, I usually stay out of these conversations, but with Caitlin Clark, I can't stay silent
When
anymore.
the greatest of all time speaks, the whole arena falls silent. This time, Michael Jordan wasn't just looking back on his own iconic legacy. He turned his focus to Caitlin Clark, the rising star reshaping women's basketball with every play. In a moment that stunned the court and moved Clark to tears, MJ delivered a stirring tribute that rippled far beyond the event. But what did he say that had the crowd erupting in applause? Stay with us. This is one of those rare moments you'll never forget. Michael Jordan and the unstoppable rise of Caitlin Clark. When Michael Jordan steps into the spotlight, especially to acknowledge players outside the NBA, it's never by chance. It's calculated. So when that attention lands on a WNBA rookie, it turns heads. Jordan has typically stayed quiet on the women's game, lending support from afar while cementing his influence through ownership, branding, and global reach. But when he does speak, particularly about a force like Caitlin Clark, it's more than praise. It's a shift in the cultural lens of greatness. Clark isn't just putting up numbers, she's reshaping the WNBA's entire landscape. Her presence has led to packed arenas and record-breaking TV viewership. With the Indiana Fever, she's transformed routine games into headline events, drawing over 1 million viewers per matchup. But the true impact of her rise goes beyond statistics. It's in the cultural shift she's inspiring. Cities airing her games are seeing youth basketball programs surge. Girls are not just joining teams. They're stepping onto the court with purpose, with visibility, with dreams. That echoes what Jordan once sparked on the men's side. In the 90s, Jordan wasn't just winning, he was rewriting the definition of a global athlete. Now, as his Jordan brand starts quietly aligning with WNBA stars, another chapter is unfolding. His business empire is evolving, recognizing the exploding cultural and commercial power of elite women athletes. The conversation has shifted. It's no longer a question of whether the women's game holds value. It's how rapidly that value is accelerating. And Caitlin Clark is driving that momentum, so when Jordan acknowledges a player like Clark, it's not routine, it's revolutionary. His rare but pointed comments don't just validate, they compel fans, media, and brands to pay attention. His legacy carries a kind of gravity few can match. When he signals someone out, the spotlight becomes unavoidable. It's not just endorsement, it's a cultural handoff. And in today's social media-driven world, that kind of recognition travels fast. It's no longer limited to award shows or post-game interviews. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram give legends and newcomers alike the power to interact, uplift, and collaborate across leagues and divisions. That's where Jordan's praise of Clark truly ignited. Not as a quiet moment, but a viral wave across digital space. Brands are catching on fast. Joint marketing efforts pairing male and female athletes are no longer about novelty. They're strategy. They allow audiences to see greatness without barriers. As more brands embrace this vision, we're seeing moments where past icons and current stars intersect, where Jordan can elevate Clark not just with words, but with presence. And just when Jordan's voice echoed loudest, others followed. Larry Bird and Shaquille O'Neal, two giants with vastly different styles, added their own powerful voices. Larry Bird, a man known more for substance than spectacle, made a remark that was small in delivery but massive in meaning. He shared that last season, he watched Iowa games just as much as Indiana State, the college that defined his career. For Bird, that says everything. He's not drawn to hype. He admires vision, effort, precision, and Clark embodies all of it. Her passing, timing, and range mirror the traits Bird once displayed himself. His praise wasn't casual. It came from a place of deep respect for basketball done right. What made Bird's comment so profound was its rarity. For a legend from the old school to speak on the women's game is powerful in itself. But he wasn't alone. Enter Shaquille O'Neal, loud, loyal, larger than life. His respect for Clark wasn't immediate. In her early WNBA days, Shaq championed Angel Reese, someone he's consistently supported. But as Clark's performances kept rising, so did his admiration. And when he finally spoke, his tone had shifted. "I'm not Shaq. I'm a fan now," he admitted, dropping his usual bravado for a moment of real honesty. He didn't just call her talented, he explained why. He broke down her playmaking, her leadership, her precision. He emphasized how she doesn't just create flashy highlights, she makes the right decisions. She elevates her team. Shaq has played with legends. He knows the difference between hype and long-term greatness. And with Clark, he saw something lasting. What truly stood out was his transparency. He admitted TV can distort a player's game. But in person, Clark's presence was even more commanding. Her poise, intelligence, and rhythm were impossible to ignore. This wasn't about media buzz. This was real basketball respect. When legends like Bird and Shaq speak, they don't hand out compliments easily. Their praise signifies a deeper shift in perception, one based on decades of understanding the game's soul. And when those voices rally around Caitlin Clark, it's not just validation. It's history in the making. Some players rise, others stand out at the very top. And as the voices of legends echoed around her, one question burned through the crowd. Why was Caitlin Clark left off the Team USA Olympic roster? Is there more behind the decision than meets the eye? Let's take a closer look. When being overlooked sparks a quiet revolution, the silent fire of Caitlin Clark. There's a certain silence that stings more than boos or jeers. Not the kind that fills a stadium after a loss, but the kind that settles in your chest when your name is never called. Caitlin Clark had felt pressure before, but being excluded from the Olympic roster hit different. It wasn't just about Paris. It was the symbolism. And it struck a nerve with fans and critics alike. To many, it was unthinkable. A young woman who single-handedly revived national interest in women's basketball, filling seats, raising ratings, inspiring girls around the country, now left out when the world was watching. It felt like a misstep, but not everyone saw it as a setback. Dwight Howard, no stranger to triumph or turbulence, offered a different perspective. "She should use this to go even harder," he said plainly. Not a slight, a challenge. Howard wasn't dismissing the disappointment. He was acknowledging the path forward. He's seen it before. Great athletes turned snubs into statements. He expected no less from Caitlin, and maybe, just maybe, this snub gave her what she hadn't had in a long time. Stillness, no Olympic media frenzy, no magnified plays under a global spotlight. Just time to breathe, focus, and sharpen her game, in silence. While the world moved on, Caitlin didn't. She went to work. Out of sight, but never out of the gym. The extra reps, the late-night film sessions, they weren't for the cameras. They were for her. Meanwhile, Jeff Teague, former NBA guard, wasn't staying quiet. To him, the WNBA had fumbled a once-in-a-generation opportunity. "They handled this all wrong," he said flatly. He wasn't just upset about the roster, he was frustrated at how the league treated a star who brought with her a tidal wave of new fans. Tickets sold out, merch flew off shelves, social media engagement soared. And yet, the embrace felt cold. Teague didn't sugarcoat it. He wasn't alone. Hall of Famer Rick Barry chimed in with stronger words. The way Clark was being treated on the court, the hits, the targeting, it wasn't just physical, it was personal. Reprehensible, he called it. And when someone like Barry, who played in an era when elbows and bruises were part of the game, calls it out, it means something. His concern wasn't just the roughness, it was what that roughness represented. If stars aren't protected, what message does that send? Every foul Caitlin took in those early games felt like a dare. Every non-call, a test. But she didn't complain. No interviews filled with anger. No public outcry, just focus, steady, professional, and slowly the tide began to turn. Her teammates began to rally. Rivals started to take quiet notice. The silence that once screamed rejection began to carry a different kind of weight, one that warned something is coming, because this isn't just about sold-out arenas or record-breaking views anymore. Caitlin Clark is becoming a movement the sport can no longer overlook. And now, the whispers of respect from the legends are starting to sound more like a prophecy. What happens next? You'll want to stay tuned. This story is just beginning. The flame they tried to ignore, now impossible to contain. From the outside, it might seem like a fairy tale rise. But inside the lines, there's a storm building. Jealousy, pressure, legacy, expectation, all converging on one player. And when Michael Jordan speaks, the basketball world listens. His words weren't light compliments. They were a passing of the torch. "She's got that fire," he said, "the kind that scares people." And then he dropped the line that made headlines. "She's better than every player on the 2025 U.S. Olympic team." But he wasn't talking about stat sheets. He was talking about something deeper. Fear. Not fear of Caitlin's jump shot, fear of what she represents. Change, power, disruption. Jordan knows that feeling all too well. He was once the target too, picked apart, doubted, turned into a threat. His advice was simple. Tune it out, stay focused, let your game do the talking. That wasn't a pep talk. It was the playbook, and Clark is running it to perfection. Steph Curry, often mentioned in the same breath as Caitlin for her deep range and sharpshooting brilliance, offered his own tribute. "The shot gets the buzz," he said, "but it's her floor game that makes her elite." Coming from a man who redefined how the NBA plays, that's not fan service. It's respect. Steph went toe-to-toe with Sabrina Ionescu in a historic WNBA versus NBA three-point shootout. Now fans are dreaming of the next big matchup, Steph versus Caitlin. She's been approached. So far she's declined, but she's open. And the world is watching, which raises the question, is Caitlin Clark carrying the WNBA? Just look at the numbers.TV ratings that used to barely register now dominate prime time. Arenas that couldn't fill playoff seats are bursting for regular games. Sponsorships once reserved for the NBA are flowing into her orbit. National ad, campaigns, private flights, viral clips, all pulled into Caitlin Clark's gravitational field. And when Magic Johnson, a man who changed basketball's global appeal, speaks, you listen. He didn't hesitate. "She's done for the WNBA what Larry and I did for the NBA," Jordan said. When he and Bird entered the league, they didn't just play, they revived it. And now, Caitlin Clark's impact is drawing comparisons on that same monumental scale. Her arrival has brought a surge of attention, investment, and improved conditions, not just for herself, but for her peers. Yet, inside the league, not all responses have been warm. The pushback, the cold shoulders, hard fouls, and silent critiques suggest something more complex. Is it pure competition, insecurity, or something deeper? Whatever the reason, it hasn't slowed her down. If anything, it's lit a deeper fire. For Caitlin, this journey was never about popularity. It's about permanence. She didn't ask to be the face of the WNBA, she simply became it. With every possession, every game, the stakes grow. And whether the league is ready or not, the shift has already begun. The WNBA isn't leading Caitlin Clark anymore. It's trying to keep up with her. And what happens next may rewrite the future of the sport. Stay close. The legends are watching. The moment is heavy. There's an old saying in basketball, game recognizes game. It's more than just a phrase. It's a compass for greatness. And Caitlin Clark is now in that rare air where the greats begin to take notice. Not long ago, she was simply a college sensation, lighting up scoreboards, going viral with highlight reels. But since turning pro, she's become something else entirely. Not just a star, not just a rookie, but a force. Now, iconic names, Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, are stepping up to voice their admiration. These aren't casual comments. These are statements from titans of sport, men whose legacies shaped how entire games are played. Jordan famously measured with his praise, broke the silence, not just to acknowledge Clark's skill, but to question the system around her. The WNBA owes Caitlin a lot for what she's done, he said. From a man who built a global empire on excellence, swagger, and dominance, those weren't just words. They were a call to action, and he didn't stop there. He pointed to the officiating, the repeated hits, and the culture of quiet tolerance that surrounded her debut. It's time the league gets it right, he insisted. This wasn't a suggestion. It was a directive. But as the spotlight blazes, not all applause has followed. Beneath the surface, a tension hums. You can sense it in interviews, catch it in guarded expressions, feel it in the subtext of commentary from veterans in the women's game. Megan Rapinoe, a figure familiar with scrutiny and expectation, offered a pointed take. She didn't name names, but her message landed. Pressure is part of the price. Sometimes you've just got to play through it, she said. It wasn't shade. It was reality. Every generation has its proving ground. Every torchbearer carries a shadow. But what happens when the player is already delivering under pressure? Because Caitlin isn't asking for sympathy. She's not dodging interviews or flinching under hard contact. She's showing up, night after night, city after city, breaking records, energizing fan bases, and making women's basketball must-see television again in places that had long tuned out. She's not just surviving the pressure, she's owning it. With a poise beyond her years and a stat sheet that defies expectations, she's proving this moment isn't too big for her. And it's not just about numbers anymore. Caitlin Clark has expanded the conversation. She's changing how and where basketball is discussed. When analyst Rachel Diaz said, "She moves the needle," she wasn't being poetic. Clark doesn't just sell jerseys. She shifts ad budgets. Networks reschedule games for her. Commentators, who once ignored the WNBA, now dedicate entire segments to her play. She's not the next big thing. She is the main event. That kind of gravity naturally draws resistance. Rapid change always makes people uncomfortable, but discomfort doesn't make it any less real. And the legends? They're paying attention. Steph. Curry analyzed her mechanics on live TV. Wayne Gretzky applauded her court leadership and poise. These aren't soft compliments. They're affirmations from the summit of professional sport. When the great one steps outside the rink to highlight a basketball rookie, that's not flattery. That's recognition. Something rare is unfolding, and through it all, Clark stays silent. Her game speaking volumes. No drama, no declarations, no need for a spotlight. Just basketball. She absorbs the hits. She fields the questions. She hears the chatter. And still, she plays. At times, it feels like the entire weight of women's basketball is resting on her shoulders. But instead of cracking, she's carrying it with grace. The officiating, she keeps playing. The doubt, she keeps performing. The tension, she keeps rising. That's not hype, that's presence. And presence is what turns players into icons. Caitlin Clark isn't waiting for the league to recognize her. She's pulling it forward. The cheers, the resistance, the milestones, they're all part of the movement now. A movement not just powered by her shot, but by her spirit, her rhythm, and the message behind every play. You can hit me, doubt me, try to break me, but you won't stop me. She's not just part of the WNBA story anymore. She's the thread holding it together. And when legends like MJ, Gretzky, and Curry speak your name in reverence, you're not rising. You've arrived. So what do you think it means when the icons of multiple sports all rally behind Caitlin Clark? Drop your thoughts below. Like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. This story's only just beginning.